What's up, everybody? This is the first in series that I'm doing on cameras from a producer and production manager's or production house's point of view. We're going to really just focus on 5 areas of a camera. We're going to start off with the Blackmagic designs because they were the biggest ones that end up NAB. So we're going to go there. Some will look at these reviews as not as in depth as they like, but we're going to start with 5 areas, and they're pretty much only 5 areas that production houses care about. That would be lens mounts, video codecs, delivery to clients, the camera body itself, and powering that camera. That's pretty much all we care about. We'll put a camera person behind it, we'll cam op, with the director of photography, or myself. We'll get behind there and we'll make this magic happen. But really, it comes down to deciding about the camera and knowing about the camera. So let's walk through the first camera on our list here. Uh, it's going to be the Blackmagic 4K Cinema. I personally think this is one of the best cameras that's out in the market for a first starter camera. If you're going to be doing live streaming, if you're going to be looking at the option of doing your first short film, if you're going to school to learn about how to do videography, this is a great camera to start off with. It has a ton of features, from a beautiful touchscreen display, micro four thirds, which is really, really easy to work with as a starter point for doing any manual focus, compatible with a ton of lenses. And speaking of which, it is micro four thirds. If we're going to talk about the micro four thirds portion of this camera, we really have to talk about how the entry level in with this lens mount is so important. For an entry level camera, you want the most options available in the lenses with the most variety and the least amount of cost. So if I was making this a crash cam, for example, for a shoot, hell, I would only be spending like $1,500 for a beautiful crash cam. And if it survives it, a win. And what I say about $1,500, check this out. If we're going to go look at lenses here, this in here real quick. We're going to look at the micro four thirds lenses. You literally can come in with a 7 Artisans lens, 18 millimeter, which is a beautiful wide f6.3. And some of you are going to say, why am I going to do f6.3? It makes sense depending on the shot. Or we can go with a 25 millimeter f2. That's $55. 7 Artisans, once again, a 35 millimeter. Remember, all of these millimeters times it by 2. So that's a 36, that's a 50, that's a 70, that's a 70. Take the f-stop and times it by 2, because that's what it's going to equivalent of the actual depth of field is going to be. But that's still not a huge bar. And that's if you went with photography lenses. And if you went with the most expensive photography lenses, why are you trying to log me in? Get out of there. If you decide to go with the most expensive photography lenses on these, you're like $7,000. Then it drops to 2, 3. That's not even that expensive when it comes to cinema lenses. And then you're in the 1,500, and we can buy cinema lenses for dang near nothing at that price. $1,500, 50 to 100, 1.7. That's a great way to start off in doing your videography. I love that part. Easy to work with. Beautiful way to go. You just kick ass with a start off camera. Now, the other question is, what if you're going into cinema? Cinema is another aspect of it. And guess what? If you really, really, really want a cinema lens that's just spectacular, and you don't want to, sit in the expensive area. Let me add this in here real quick. You can start off with a decent cinema lens for $300. So that's a 12 2.9. It's got manual focus. You're looking at 190 degrees, I believe, on the manual focus. You got a Rokinon one for $299. It's 12 millimeters. It's going to be 24. You got an 85, which is going to give you some good reach. You got a 7.5 millimeter. This is something that's crazy. That's a 15 millimeter equivalent in full frame for $299. Manual focus. You got a 35 millimeter, which would be your tight shot. That's, oh my God. There's still a micro four thirds, 327. I mean, all of these are cheap. They're inexpensive. In other words, you can get into this for cheap and start off doing your cinema world easy, and for someone like me in productions, it's not an expensive piece. It still gives me great camera to start off with. I can send out a smaller, inexperienced team, do a lesser cost to our client. Now, hear me out here. It's a lesser cost to our client. Whatever. You can say home. I'll show you up there. How you doing there, Cage Animal Media? I know you're looking at that going, but here's the thing. I do this every day. We just got done with a fun little shoot over in Seattle. Um, these cameras are spectacular for starters, and we love using them for these types of shoots because we can get the audience, we can get somebody that's new in there. We don't have to pay them as a full cam op. We can pay them as let me see right here, we can pay them as a starter and get them into the industry really good with a nice Codex to start off with, and giving them great cameras to start with. So for $2,000, a couple of lenses, a camera, it already comes with the software, and you got a stand. So that's a good way to go, going with the Micro Four Thirds mounts. Now let's talk about delivery to client. Sorry, talk about Codex. Let me jump out of here real quick. We're done with the lenses. We're going to talk about Codexes here. Let me get over to the spec side of this. This is where this camera kind of shines. And I do mean shines a lot. If we're talking Codex of the camera, I'm going to add this in right here. This is the Micro Four Thirds. Wrong one. 4K. The 4K. If we're talking about delivery to a client, and sorry, I'm jumping ahead. If we're talking about Codexes, this is actually a pretty nice camera to have for start off Codexes. Where did my Codex side go? It's down here. That's it. You're going to have the option of 3:1 Blackmagic RAW. You're going to have the option of 5:1, 8:1, 12:1. So you can start off with a large file or go to a small file. It's really up to you. If you want to go to a large file, great, go to 3:1. If you want to go to a small file, go to 12:1. Either way, you're able to do it. Then you've got this constant quality 0, which is actually even a larger file, and then constant quality 5, which is a little bit smaller file. The other advantage too is a ProRes 422 HQ, which works with a lot of platforms. So if you're delivering this off to somebody's team, and this is important, if you're delivering it to a team, so I'm going now, here we go from Codex to delivery to the client. If you're delivering it to a team, you want to have a broad spectrum of codexes, and having these codexes in both ProRes and Blackmagic RAW is a big bonus with this camera. A lot of teams can work and get things going right away. Now, speaking of Codex, this Codex itself happens to come with, this camera comes with a full software. If you're delivering this to somebody who's going to go on to a platform like YouTube, Instagram, any of the social platforms, you do need to deliver this to them into two different formats. It really doesn't matter which way it goes. It's a 264 or a 265 format. With a Blackmagic camera, you get a full studio license, actually 2 studio licenses, and that allows you to deliver to a client that does not have a team to take care of everything. This camera comes with everything you need to deliver it. Now, you do need to add in about 2 hours extra into your time. The reason why I say that is sometimes you'll catch small things in a video you didn't like, so you're going to edit it down. Number 2, if you're just turning in the straight footage itself, if you don't have a powerful laptop or you've had a long day of footage, so say for example you ran, I don't know, we did this function, I think it was 6 hours long overall, but it was actually active for 3 hours. We only had like an hour and a half of footage that was going to go to their team. Luckily, we took it with a format that was easy to work with, but you're looking at about an hour and a half of rendering to 2 hours of rendering. So that's something you got to be aware of when you're delivering to the client. That's it on the Codex. There's not a lot to talk about. These are all professional codexes, so Blackmagic RAW and ProRes. So you're going to start off with professional way to go and go from there. The next part is going to be the camera body itself. We all know this camera body, but let's get down to what makes this camera body easy to work with. We can all talk about different mounts, different this, but let's be frank with it. This camera has a lot of function keys on it. Has a good speaker. It has a mount point, which is really nice to have. Easy access white balance, shutter, and ISO. You still have your still option on it, and the record button's right up front. Your scroll keys right there. You do have 2 microphones, and this is a really cool part with 2 microphones. I'll get to that. That's actually coming up in another review. I actually have worked with this camera. It turned out awesome. We did something for Starbucks, and it was a really cool shoot. Sorry, we did something with Starbucks, a really cool shoot. It had to do with the labor unions and stuff like that. It's really awesome, and yeah, I'll go over that with you, but it won't be on this shoot. But I'll give you my 2 cents on it. If you get that unit, just buy like $100 monitor, $200 monitor. You'll be just fine. It's super compact and you can just make it any way you want to. I've actually seen video tripods that have mounting points on them, so you can put a monitor on a Magic Arm and it worked great. So that's the whole on that. I'm actually going to review that camera. I think that's on slate for next week. So, it depends on how fast we get through these Blackmagic cameras. All right, so we're back over here to the dual mics. This is really nice to get scratch audio with. I'm still going to recommend you always do an external audio source, either through an audio board or through an audio recorder. That's very important. The reason why I said audio board, because you might be live streaming, so that's important to know. You have a full HD screen, and it allows you to have a touchscreen menu. Spectacular way to go. Your iris controls, your frame rate controls are all touch button, zooms, all the rest. Here's where your I/O comes in, and this is very important to understand. You have a microphone, which is a headphone jack style. Yeah, I think I do have one of them here. Yeah, I do. If you are looking to hook in, say, a wireless microphone system, you'll probably hook up these right here. That would go along with a wireless pro system. Gives you stereo input there. Super nice, easy to work with, and you can do your interviews, that's what we ended up doing also today. We weren't using these cameras, we were using C70s, but that review is coming up in like 2 weeks. Hold on, this guy's coming. I like it. So this camera, the one you're talking about here, the A.P.C camera, is why I'm doing this. There's a ton of videos I did on it, and people were just kicking back at me. And I'm like, okay, fine. Let me talk to you about it from a producer and production house point of view. So that's definitely on my list. And in my opinion, it has revolutionized the industry. We will now have a box camera that's usable, straight up, usable box camera for daily production. So you can go from doing your live stream to the interviews like we were doing and everything else without having to have 2 or 3 or 4 different cameras. It's nice. Don't worry, man. Everyone's been spelling it wrong or saying it wrong, so don't even worry about that. We've all been there, bro. That review is coming. That's I think number 5 on my list. So I have to get through all the Blackmagic cameras first, the pockets. Back to the I/Os. So the microphone input. This is really nice because you can do stereo inputs on the microphones. The headphone jack is great for monitoring. It is a full-size HDMI port. I love this part. There is a cage for this from Small Rig that actually has a bunch of the ports to go in to ensure that they're safe so they don't get bent left and right. And that's pretty cool because this body's been around a long time. They built it specifically for it. This 12-volt power supply is really nice. I'll go over that in a second when we're talking. Matter of fact, I'll do it right now for some of the powering. It's great for powering the unit. The USB-C is probably my favorite part about this whole entire camera. You can take an external hard drive, one of these, boom. Matter of fact, this is what I deliver with all the time. USB-C in, do all your recordings, and if they're cool with getting Blackmagic Raw, and they got the people who can take care of that work themselves, they can do it. I just take that, end of the day, deliver it. I charge them $250 for 1 terabyte. That includes the case for it and delivery, insured delivery, and a backup. They're always happy. That's a cheap way to deliver, and client is super happy with it. Mini XLR. Okay, this is where some people don't understand the benefit of this. You can have an audio board running into it, and that's super nice to have happen. There's been many a times we've been on a set, we've been working, we've got a 1 cam out there, corporate client has already picked an audio team and everything else, and then they realize they wanted to make it a Zoom call or want to make something else. We connect with the client's audio source that's there. We plug it in. We get clean line level input going into a live stream or a Zoom or a Teams call. Super happy client, and it sounds great. So there's your body. That's it. The last one is powering it. Okay, this is the absolute worst part about the Pocket 4K camera, and the best part. Worst part about it is if you are using batteries. So if you're going to take a battery and use it, half hour, baby, 1/2 hour. You have a half hour to work with. That's it. Life sucks. You're stuck with a half hour, 45 minutes if you're lucky. That's it. For someone saying they get an hour out of it, miracles are happening for them, and I'm happy for them. That makes me extremely happy they're able to pull that off. Now, that being said, if we're in a static situation and we're going to have it on sticks, we're going to be using it for what it's designed for, like interviews and stuff like that, and we're inside of a building or something like that, there's a ton of power supplies, and we just end up putting the 12 volt in here. Whenever you're doing interviews and everything, your external power supply is your main supply. Your battery is your backup when we lose power, and then we make it work. And so that's one way to go. There are some people who rig these up with V-mount batteries and everything else. Frankly, unless you're actually truly shooting 3 to 7 hours straight, don't. V-mount batteries are a waste of fucking time. Excuse my language, a waste of time. I just don't see the point of doing it for this type of a camera unless you're doing super long shoots. Now, that doesn't mean there isn't times you're going to be doing super long shoots without an external power supply available for it, like AC power. Then you're going to have to go to a V-mount battery solution. But other than that, you shouldn't really need to, unless you're rigging this out with an external monitor, large lenses, and everything else. And that's another nice thing about this camera too. You can do that. So that's all your batteries and everything else. Bonus to this, super riggable camera. If you're comfortable building out all the boxes and everything else, it is a super fluid camera to build with. You will have no issues with getting a nice focus on people because it's micro four thirds. Overall, as an entry camera, $1,200 to get into using a professional level camera. No brainer. Plus, you get $300 in software for free. No brainer. You're going to get the DaVinci Resolve, and you'll be happy with that. Speaking of which, if you are someone who looks at DaVinci Resolve and you're concerned about like your first time getting a camera, the bonus part to this particular video has to go with what you get. So if you head over, if you're willing to stay for this part, this is probably the most educational part about this whole entire video. If you buy a Blackmagic camera, you get so much more support than any other camera manufacturer out there. And I'm a Sony user. I am shooting on an FX30 right now. I have absolutely no lighting in here, just so you know. I did no lighting. I literally have kitchen lights on. That's lights, and that's it. That's what I love about the Sony. You don't have to have good lighting to make it work. But if you're going to take the time and you're going to get this, it comes with the support like you wouldn't believe. So there's certification programs. So they got introduction this here. Ignore all of this on this page. If you are courageous enough to scroll to the bottom, they actually have full editor books. So they got a full book on editing. So if you're new to video productions, this is similar to going to a full class. It's a 400-page book. Plus it downloads all the files, everything you need to be able to actually take the class. Then they have an editor's guide for everybody who's doing it. That's really nice. They have a Fairlight guide, which gets you your audio portion. So you'll learn how to use audio that you captured with this camera, or you captured with an external microphone like one of these, and make it sound real good and put in sound effects with it. Colors guide. Because it's Blackmagic Raw, you're going to have to learn how to color. And there's no problem with that. Learning coloring is a very important part of your job. You'll learn it, you'll love it, or you'll hate it, but it's still going to be part of your job. They give you a guide. It's 400 pages long. They give you lessons. There's 3 parts to it. By the time you're done, you'll be able to color anything. and it doesn't matter the camera. You'll be able to color with it. They're not giving you small files. They're giving you ProRes files. They're giving you everything you need to actually learn how to do it. Visual effects, magnifique. The support you get from buying a Blackmagic camera, and this is going to be kind of a repeated message as I go over all the Blackmagic cameras, is this part here. This is 400 and some odd pages. They give you, I think it's 14 gigs of data to work with, or 50 gigs of data for visual effects. They give you another 50 gigs here, 500 pages, 35 gigs here, 500 pages. And on this one, they even teach you how to do, you're not going to believe this. They're going to teach you how to do Atomos, Dolby Digital Atomos, whatever it is, Atoms. So you can do surround sound by the time you're done. No other camera manufacturer is giving you this information, nor are they going to give you the editing software. So, and I'm a Sony user. This is an FX30 right here. I love this camera because there's a lot of things I can do with it I cannot do with other cameras. I look good. If you saw my lighting choice, you'd laugh your ass off. It's literally like a headlamp right here, like a regular lamp, like in the kitchen, and some lights over in the dining room and then in the kitchen. And I still look good. That's one of the advantages of the Sony, but this will let you go to the next level with this camera. So this is my thoughts on the Blackmagic 4K. Cage Animal, how you doing again, brother? Yes, batteries are an absolute nightmare in every way, shape, and form with this camera. There is no other way to describe it. It is a nightmare. It's the worst battery situation I have ever been in. And I've been into a lot of battery situations. It's the worst. All right. Enough of this. Thank you for watching. You did not have to watch this. If you like it, like, subscribe, share with other people. I'm just starting this series. I was at home today, I got done with the shoot, and I was like, I'm just going to jump into it. I could script it, I could do everything else, but the fact of the matter is I use these cameras. I use their studios. I use the Sonys. Today we were using C70s. We had two C70s, an FX30, and an A7 III on set. But we also have 7 Blackmagic cameras too. It blows my mind what we get to do on a daily basis. Anyway, take care. Bye now.